Welcome
Hi, folks.
to the Ivan Files.
Yeah, we are here
We are here,
for,
and
for
We
you.
are here.
and we are going to discuss whatever the Ivan wants to discuss today.
Uh-oh.
God only knows what it might be. Literally,
Here
God is the only
we
one that knows.
Go.
Well, one of the things that really bothers people a lot everywhere in this country is shootings. And the idea that it's not all right to do that, but it's all right to talk about it on the media. And there has been research. One area was a physicist at ASU, Arizona State University, which she did a statistical thing on it at one time, and said that there'll be 13. There'll be a shooting in 13 days after a shooting.
Interesting.
Yeah, and there was some research done on it on either Wisconsin or Minnesota. The guy did it up there too, and he came up with about the same thing. Now, the problem is that, well, first of all, it's not mental health. It's not rage necessarily. They try to push it off onto these various sorts of things. And it's mental health a problem after it happens, all right enough. But it's also a mental health problem of parents not being aware of all the armory that kids get together, and wonder why that is, you know.
Yeah.
Why would you need an AR-15? Huh? Why would you need that? Or shotguns are better, but good rifles for target shooting. You know, you do target shooting, but you don't need an AR-15 for that. Yeah, and it doesn't belong in our culture a lot. It's what happens is that when there is a shooting, the media, the sheriffs and so on, say there was an event, and if they know the person's name, they'll give that, and if they have a picture of them, they'll put that on there too.
Right.
Well, what that does for the person on edge is here's a way to get fame and notoriety, and it's they don't pay attention to what the research is, and they doubt it. I wrote a letter to Umpqua Community College after there was a shooting down there, and told them about this stuff. And so he wrote to the people at ASU. I think her name was Sharon Towers. I'm not sure about that, though. Dang it, I couldn't find my file this morning. Anyway, and I told him what the deal was, and he wrote and said, "Is it true?" And they said, "Yes, it is true. That's what happens, you know." And do you think the media gives a damn about it? No. What is it that they think? I must say that there was a sheriff in one of them that would not give the name, would not give the picture, would not give anything about it. And he was doing exactly the right thing to quell this mess that we have here. So, but I don't know what you guys think about all that, you know?
I think there's multiple things there that you said, and I think that there's a risk as in communities that the second you say something like AR-15s don't belong in our country, they don't, right? But the second you say that, all the gun owners get up in arms and say, you're not going to take away our guns. That's absolutely not what's being
They
said.
go buy more.
Yeah. So that's absolutely what's not being said. So I think that's one thing that you said that people will, freak out about. Look, if you have to buy an AR-15 or a fast shooting gun, you're not a very good shot. So you probably need to think about that.
Yeah.
But, there's a huge group of people that say, "Oh, don't take my guns away." Well, I believe in having the right to protect yourself. I believe in the right to have a gun to hunt with.
Yeah.
I believe in guns for target practice. I believe in all of that, but I don't believe in assault rifles and things like that. Those are military weapons. So that's one thing that you said. The other thing that you said is you addressed the mental health part of it. And I'm inclined to disagree with you a little bit on that, only in that I do think that somebody that will go in and do a mass shooting, their brain ain't clicking right. And they're not necessarily just looking for fame and notoriety. Now, agreed, the media gives them that. And we have a friend that we know that they left the news and went into nonprofit because they were told as a reporter, you know who I'm talking about, if it bleeds, it leads. And that is a real phrase in media. If it bleeds, it leads. So the darker it is, put it up there. The more that, so I don't know that people that are doing that are looking for notoriety because it's a very short amount of it.
Yeah.
But their brain ain't clicking right.
No.
If they're, so it is, I do think it is mental health, actually.
Mental health is so mistaken in what is exactly mental health and what is mental disease, and often that's the media grabs that term mental health and uses it that way, and without really understanding what the mental health is or mental disease is, and how it ought to be. So, what do you think?
I think that in terms of like schools being threatened, I think that's kind of just a breakdown in society that we cannot find an answer to as a
Right.
society.
Yeah.
Right? I think often the conversation goes to like guns. Well, the guns of back when the Constitution was written today are not the same thing, right?
Right.
What are those guns made for? It's not for hunting or protection, it's literally to cause chaos.
Right.
Right? So I think that's one issue. Whether it should be in the hands of the citizen, I'm not here to speak on. But what I will say is that what we're seeing is, if it leads, it bleeds, goes back to the human nature of just being very attracted
You mean
to
it
this.
bleeds, it bleeds.
If it bleeds, it leads.
Yeah.
Right. If it leads, it bleeds. Is that what I said?
No, if it bleeds, yeah. If it bleeds, it leads. Yeah.
that's
Right,
what-
but it goes back to like human fascination, right? Like you see a car wreck on the highway, you're going to slow down and look at that car wreck. As much as you know you shouldn't, because you're part of the problem that's causing the backup, you still look
Yeah.
at that car crash.
Big time.
And I think there's something built into us as humans where we have to seek that out. So I don't necessarily believe. So let's zoom out from that. I don't necessarily blame the media or the news outlets for taking those stories and running with them, because it's human nature that attracts that attention. So now what we're seeing is people put this stuff on social media with the exact same motivation, right? So now it's not the media. Now it's essentially the citizens putting the stuff up online to gain that same attraction, right? My issue with like mental mental health being at the center of it is mental health is so hard to police and support, right? Anybody that looks as like buttoned down, perfect life can have these issues, and there's no way to identify that until it's almost too late or whether there's a cry for help. So I don't have the answer. I think we as a society should probably not engage in that content, but I don't know if that's realistic in today's day and age.
So not to jump, but you said something there that if we have, and you know, we can talk about whatever we want to on this platform. That's what I love about the Ivan Files, because this is not, you know, our company, but
Oh,
if
yeah?
well, I mean, it's if we put down things like you have to be 21 years old to drink, you have to be 16 years old to drive, okay? You to own a gun, I believe you have to be 18. Is that correct?
I believe so.
I don't know if
I
it's
don't
state
know.
by state.
I
I'm
don't
not
know
sure,
either, yeah.
so please correct
We
me.
had a gun at 10.
Yeah. But here's the thing, those can all be weapons. A car can be a weapon if it's not managed properly.
Oh, yeah.
Alcohol can be a weapon if it's not managed properly. And guns are obviously a weapon, right? Why then are we not understanding that social media should also be used by a certain age and higher, where their cognitive thought process is developed?
And I think the answer to that is it's working its way through society, right? Like this is really the first generation that we're seeing that has grown up on cell phones, and maybe you can take that like 5 years back even. But like when Facebook was invented, it was in 06, right? 06 is when I was, maybe it was, yeah, 06, 07 was right when Facebook hit the scene, and that eventually grew into a huge company. But essentially, like, we didn't know what we didn't know
Right.
at that point. And now we're seeing these issues like, you know, threats on schools and stuff of that nature. I think this is a manifestation of letting that social media run rampant. And
Yeah.
I think we're going to hit a point, and we're starting to see that now with some
Yeah.
of the, like, one of the biggest books on the market right now is The Anxious Generation.
It's a great book.
One of the best-selling books of this year. And I think that directly puts a spotlight on the youth being exposed to social media and how it's affected them in the last 5 and 10 years. And I think that is the beginning of us starting to put those regulations in place.
Yeah. And you're not really pervy. You don't see the social media. That's not something that you do, right? You use the internet for information. You know, being a Mensa, your mind is constantly you're trying to feed your mind. So to understand the social media, it's unfair for me to say that you would understand it when you know, at 91, you're not going to start your social media train.
I can't figure out my computer.
Right. But what it is the social media platform is a beautiful platform for businesses, families to stay connected, things like that. However, are you the one that told me this, or did I tell you this? I can't remember, but social media very well could be our meteor.
Very much so. Yeah.
To where, you know, a meteor hit the earth and boom, all the dinosaurs were gone because it just created massive chaos, right?
Yeah.
Social media could be that for our society, for the human race, if we don't begin to understand. What was the drinking age when you were a child, when you were a kid? There wasn't one, was there?
Oh, yeah. 18, I believe.
18.
Yeah. Uh-huh. We had to get some guy to buy us some beer.
Right.
And, yeah, we go
Yeah.
out in the car and have a good time. you know.
Right.
No. The drinking age is the legal age you can buy it
The
at.
legal age, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's changed, right?
Yeah.
That's changed,
Yeah.
obviously because of, you know, an 18-year-old, especially a male, They're still punting their brain around. They do that till
Well,
they're about 45.
But I think that also
Well-
goes back to like the social media issue because there's been studies in the last 20, 30 years that indicate that the brain from ages like 16 to 25 is still in development,
Right.
which is partly why I believe the drinking age has been pushed back to 21.
Gotcha.
Whereas the rest of the world, it's like 16.
Yeah.
Right? But part of the
Right.
reason it's as high as it is because of that age. Now,
Do-
it's
and
also-
part of
I
that
don't
is
think
because,
that's
you know,
working, but here we are.
yeah, and we have so much freedom in this country, right, that we almost take advantage of that freedom. And I love the fact that we have the freedoms that we have. By the way, thank you every military member for that.
Agreed.
But, you know, sometimes I look at our country as a spoiled brat
Uh, yes.
and pushing the limit and pushing the limit and pushing the limit instead of understanding we have beautiful freedoms. We have the freedom of speech. Don't abuse that. That's the thing, is we take it to the line and then we try to step over that line and step over that line and step over that line. And that feels to me unfair.
Yeah.
Unfair to
Let me tell you something.
so many things.
There was a time when the number of suicides were
Rising.
were developed, and it was what it did was, if there was a suicide that was on the media, well, you could look forward to not forward, but there would
You knew there'd be more.
there would be another suicide in a short amount of time. And I think that's the same kind of thing that, so what they do, they quit doing that. They quit advertising the suicides so that they would cut back.
Mm-hmm.
They would not encourage, if you will, suicide amongst people that might be thinking about it, or something. It's not giving them that extra
Right.
oomph. And I think that's the same thing, same principle that can be applied to the shooting
Right.
business. But it's not the guns. It's the people who have the guns that do that stuff that we
But-
don't like.
Yeah, but it is the guns. It is not the shotguns, not the pistols, not the hunting rifles.
Yes, it is.
It's the big guns that go in and are doing these mass shootings. You know that people aren't going in with a one-shot gun.
See, but I would argue it's the fear of the gun, right?
The what?
The fear of the gun,
Oh,
right? I mean, how many people are actually at home with an AR-15? I
Yeah.
think the number's probably less than we would
yeah.
believe.
I
right?
would hope so.
I would hope so too. Yeah.
But then the question is, do we go around and do some kind of testing of mental health to see if they're going to use that AR-15?
Yeah.
Well, I
No,
mean,
we can't do it. They've tried that. They've tried to identify it, and this is the price we pay in this country for freedom is that we don't go into houses and take all our guns and stuff. The Nazis did that, and one of the people at the center was in Germany during that time. She was could talk about that very thing, that the Nazis could walk in then and there's nobody gonna shoot at them because they demanded that there wouldn't be any guns. And so
well, and we also, there's a culture of hate. And
culture of what?
hate, and that
Yeah.
it's very easy to get on to that. It's way harder, but more rewarding to love. To be honest with you, but
Yeah.
we're I mean, we got some of our leaders, not to name anybody, but we got some of our leaders that are slinging hate, and misinformation. So when it starts at the very top like that,
Yeah.
it's very difficult to say these things should change
You know,
when your leaders are in fact
and I
slinging.
think I think the issue is that it cuts both ways. You know, you mentioned like Hitler and taking away all the guns and house raids and stuff of that nature, but in that world you also don't have to worry about people shooting up the school if they're constantly raiding to take the guns out of the homes.
Right.
Now, you know, in that you can take that same perspective and say, well, that's the government overreaching. They're
Not
controlling their
Hitler.
people.
Not Hitler, but the Nazis.
Nazis. Okay. Yeah, Nazis.
There are more of them involved in that. Sort
Gotcha.
Of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. So, but I mean, it's interesting. Like as I get older, I really try to look at. I'm starting to look at society as like there's some problems, but the right answer doesn't seem to be out there, like
Not
ever,
yet.
right? And like you talk about politicians on the rise. Like right now, what gets clicks? Divisive, over the top statements.
Uh-huh.
Devices over the top statements gets clicks, which is why we're in the situation we are politically,
Yeah.
where we have two individuals that are basically just saying the most outlandish stuff that would never come to fruition. Like the fact that like one of the candidates is basically saying, hey, we're going to go in and police private businesses on how much profit they can take. You're totally disrupting the fair market system that America's based on, right? So both of them are saying crazy
Socialism,
stuff
Yeah.
that fly in the face of like everyday practice. So I mean that's part of the issue, and I think it goes back to what you were saying, Ivan, where back in the day when you saw suicides, you would see more suicides. And I think that attention, or wherever that attention is, will manifest more of the same thing.
Yeah.
And really all you can control, and this is like the most significant it's ever been in our society, but you are the only one that can control your information source.
Yeah.
You are the only person. Like if you go home and you watch political news day in and day out, 4 to 6 hours a day, you are going to start thinking in that manner.
And you're going to
Right.
be a pickle in a month.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
I live with a pickle, so she watches it 24/7.
But I mean, so like you are manifesting like what you're seeking out in your world. You are perceiving the world based on what you choose to pour into your world. You know, and I'm noticing that now more than I ever have because I went to college, did my thing, took many years off of reading, and now I'm starting to read again this year. And what I realize is if I force myself to read in the morning good stuff, the rest of my day is better.
Yeah.
Because I see the good in the world that I'm pouring into my mind. And when I'm bumping into people in society like that are kind of head down angry, it's normally coming from like their information source.
Right.
Like, are you staying on social media for 4 hours a day?
Yeah.
Because what social media breeds is comparison to others.
Right.
Well, if you're breathing in that comparison to others, now you feel worse about yourself because other people have it better.
Donald.
You also have an
Right.
unusual, career, in that career allows you at least 35 times a year,
Yeah.
to be in an environment that is the human coming together for good, regardless of what it is, whether it's for illness or a school or whatever, So that also helps the mind reset.
Yeah.
Even if you have a bad night, you still can reset every single time. But, you make a valid point about, being on social media for 4 hours. If you click on, again, I go back to the reason why the age of social media should be different than it is, and I'll be honest with you, parents are responsible for this as well.
Yeah.
And then I can tell you that when a kid gets it taken away and isn't allowed to have it, and everybody around them they lose their effing mind, and
Yeah.
happen to know that. So,
Yeah.
but
You've seen it
you
first
still
person,
I've seen
yeah.
it firsthand.
It's also in that book.
It's
I don't know
also
if you
in
read
that book.
chapter
Yeah, I
or
haven't
not,
read that
but-
chapter
oh,
yet.
boy,
But
yeah.
so you still have to stay strong as a parent and do what's right for your child's brain development.
Well,
But and then I'll let you go. I'm sorry, I was on a thought process here.
Ivan's like, whose podcast is this?
But we know by social media, once you clicked on something that's negative, the analytics will continually feed you. It will put in your news feed. It'll put in your social media. It'll put in your Facebook. All those things. Oh, they clicked on this and they were interested in that.
Yeah.
So it feeds it and it feeds it and it feeds it. Sorry, Dad. Go ahead. I just had some great shit
Well,
to
I was
say.
just gonna say
Record it.
something that's probably off track, but it's true. And you know, people go to church and they do things. They believe in. They call themselves Christians and stuff like
Mhm.
that. One of the things is you don't bear false witness against your neighbor,
Yeah,
and they do it all day long,
yeah.
all day long.
And you know, church is another thing that, you know, Mark and I are going to try to get our family. These guys don't know it yet, but we're going to also see if they'll go with us, because only in that there's, whether you believe the whole Bible or you look at the Bible as
Yeah.
what you walk by, or you look at the Bible as a great book of historical stuff, regardless, what church can do is develop a community piece and the youth groups and and it can just be another unique community. And I'll be honest with you, our Mark and I have not been the leaders in that we should be. We also are not the type of people that are going to force it down people's throat. But as the leaders of a group of people, which we are, and you're included in that group, we have a responsibility to say, let's just give it a shot.
Yeah.
Let's just go and, you know what, put the kids in the daycare. They're going to love it. You know, you can see what the youth groups are like. You never know. I mean, what you take from it is one thing, right? But you cannot give enough, you cannot inject enough positive into the children today. You just cannot. Because when I was a child, it was all positive. Now maybe I was that ding dong of a kid, but
Notwithstanding.
yeah, I didn't, we didn't have, you know, TV for us was Saturday nights. We watched Love Boat, Fantasy Island, and ate ice cream. That was entertainment for us. We looked forward to Saturday nights at my house. And, you know, we need more of that.
Yeah, I mean, I would
need
say
more
that,
of that.
like, you know, you gravitating towards church, I think, is what this country needs. I think we need to get back, and not, it doesn't necessarily have to be church, but we have to get back
That
to
community.
community.
Social group.
Social groups. Social groups have to happen to get this country back.
Yeah.
Because essentially we're all on our devices, we're all on our islands, we all believe that we're the smartest person in the room and everybody else is a dum-dum. And the fact of the matter is
Yeah,
like
they're
we
not.
are more united together. Yeah, right? Exactly.
Churches where more than two people meet and talk about the Bible, they say,
Yeah.
or whatever.
Whatever they want.
So I had just got an idea that just sparked in my head.
Oh no.
Okay.
Uh-oh. No, don't say it. Don't
Okay.
say it. I know where you're going. So I mean, like, I think that religion got a bad rap because like the science flew in the face of some of the traditional teachings of the church. But we see that time and time again
Yeah.
over the history of humanity.
Yes.
Right? So now what churches are battling is the devices.
Uh-huh.
Right? You don't have to go out of your house to get that social interaction.
Right.
Now you can do it on your phone.
Yep.
Right? So I mean it really puts us in a weird scenario, and I think we being in the events industry, we see people coming together all the time, and I'm a little bit afraid that all of the demographic that we're speaking to are normally on the higher side.
Mm-hmm.
You're not seeing a lot of younger people coming to these events.
No, we're not. And we are not.
We are not. Period. End of story. And we've tried multiple, like there's been multiple initiatives to go out there and bring in that younger generation, and they're not sticking around.
Nope. But we also might not be raising a generation of givers. We might be raising a generation of takers.
That's another subject.
Ouch.
Yeah.
That hurts. That hit me right in the heart.
I'm sorry. But and I'm not saying you
You're saying
are
I'm,
not
you're,
a
you're
taker.
saying I'm a bad parent. I
No,
heard her.
I'm just
you heard
saying-
her. We have it on tape. It's fine.
But we have to look at ourselves in the mirror. Mark and I
I
look at
agree.
ourselves in the mirror every day, and we try to say, "Oh man, I want to do better today.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do better today than I did yesterday." And but we also have fixed a lot of things so that everything's good.
Yeah.
Well, that book, for example, they have to fix, in order to instill that,
I
so.
better read that book.
It's a very good book. I mean, it's not a book that answers any questions,
No.
to be honest with you. But it's
Causes a lot of questions. In fact, it causes
causes
more questions
a lot
than
of
it-
questions.
yeah.
But that's how the human works. Questioning, okay, find a solution, question, find a solution, question, find a solution, you know.
Yeah.
So this is a good podcast today, Dad. Well, I don't know if we're
stuff.
anywhere where we started, but
Well,
welcome to the hijacked Ivan Files.
it is, the central thing is we don't go around shooting people.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
pretty much.
I think I can get behind that
I
one.
can
Yeah.
totally get behind that.
Yeah.
So,
So wherever you are, don't do
wherever
anything
you are,
stupid.
the bottom line of the Ivan Files is don't be stupid and shoot people. Okay?
Sure,
All
sure.
right. That's the end of that whole mantra of today's Ivan Files.
Okay,
Okay?
yeah, send some emails then.
Send him an email, please. It's,
Do it.
what is it?
I don't know,
The Ivan
1933,
at gmail.com.
and that's it, yeah.
And that's it.
Gmail.
At gmail.com. And
Yeah.
hopefully he can open his computer.
Yeah,
I'm sure you will. If not, we can call Drill to get it fixed.
Yeah, we'll call Drill.
yeah.
All right. Tip your hat and say goodbye.
So long, folks, till next week.
Next week.
Yeah, and, keep smiling, keep smiling.